cover more risks higher level, or select few targeted risks but then investigate them to the very depth. I discovered so many insights that allowed the company to save millions of dollars. You're missing out is on this kind of extra $1 million of value. Hi everyone, it's Alex from Risk Academy. In this video I wanted to share a lesson that I was a little bit surprised to discover. 16 years in risk, in various senior positions in different countries, and this is something that I've discovered. I always had this this choice that I had to make. Cover more risks higher level, or select few targeted risks but then investigate them to the very depth, like investigate them really deep, talk with subject matter experts, read the legislation, truly understand the nature of risk. And what I've discovered, and it not just happened once, it happens every single time when I try that. It happens with water pollution, with air pollution, happened with compliance risks, happened with credit risk, happened with market risk, happened with investment risk, happened with operational risk, quality. Every single time I come across that choice, do we cover more risks higher level? Because it's not difficult to come up with a higher level methodology. It's basically a bow tie, can be a very nice technique to capture the essence of most risks on the planet. But the lesson that I wanted to share is that it wasn't even my choice, to be honest. When I was tasked to investigate a particular risk much deeper than I normally would have, I discovered so many insights that allowed the company to save millions of dollars. And I'm not exaggerating, it was like the difference was so stark. It was just unbelievable how an extra week of investigating a subject, a risk at hand, allowed us to understand and figure out and capture better mitigations, measure the risks more accurately, and provide the savings to the company. And in fact, I remember 3 years later, once I had a conversation with one of the board members, I said, well, this is what I'm discovering. I'm seeing that if I go really deep into select number of risks, I can provide like real savings in procurement when we really dived into the process to understand how accreditation works, to really challenge the methodology, to unpack the whole risk accreditation model, where they said, we have 155 factors that influence how we accredit new vendors. And so we unpacked that to the degree where we mathematically discovered, and tested different hypotheses, discovered that out of 155, only 30 were meaningful and the rest were pretty much empty promises. Like, that's how deep we would go in. And so I remember having this conversation with the board, like, do you want me to continue going very narrow into specific risks? Give me the next risk and I'll investigate the hell out of it. Or do you want me to go ERM style and just create a methodology for capturing as much as possible and make sure we don't have any gray zones where nobody looks? And he said, no, I want you to continue going narrow and specific and dig deep, because that's where the savings, the money comes from in the short to medium term. And then somebody else will look after the overall picture. So the lesson I wanted to share in this video, I was surprised. I don't know, maybe you will be surprised as I am. What I've discovered is having this single ERM style methodology is useful for reporting purposes. Like, it allows you to capture all the different risks into a single presentation, and you can represent it as a loss exceedance curve or into something meaningful, not a heat map. Heat maps are bad. Into something meaningful, and doesn't take too much effort, and you can usually kind of make sense of it. But what you're missing out is on this kind of extra $1 million of value that you would only get if you actually took one risk and investigated the hell out of it. For me, kind of the big stark example was water pollution. I remember when we had a kind of high-level sweeping compliance methodology. We used bow ties, by the way, because they're the best for compliance risks. And we calculated this water pollution risk to be, I don't know, like $1 billion. And then, by complete coincidence, a different team approached us saying they wanted to do an investment, they wanted to justify an investment into water purification facility. And that cost a few $1 million to build, and it was like a 3-year construction. So it was a significant investment. And they wanted us to investigate and like really dig deep into this water pollution risk. And when we built a different bow tie, we first investigated the legislation, understood how the damage from water pollution is actually calculated according to the local legislation. And when we investigated all of that and built a better bow tie, so our first bow tie had basically like 5 branches of consequences. Our real life bow tie had 24 branches of consequences. And once we build that bow tie and then we build a model on top of that and calculate it, the risk turned out to be like 7 billion. The numbers are not correct, but you get the idea. The actual risk exposure was 7 times what we originally estimated because we started investigating deeper. And that's what happens every single time. When we look deep at any specific risk and we discover so many nuances.